I am Harry Siemens, and I'm coming to you from Manitoba Ag Days 2019, and it's such a pleasure to visit with the various exhibitors. And today I'm with Chris Sobchuk, Bushel Plus, and just such a great story. And I know I've written the story, I've heard about it from the owner. Tell me how it started.
Yeah, Bushel Plus basically started way back, I'm going to say probably about 8 years ago, back in Germany and Russia area, where Marcel Kringa, the actual inventor of the product, actually came up with the idea when one of the co-workers almost got ran over by one of the combines. So as a lot of farmers do, they go ahead and they throw a pan or hold a shovel, and then they try to run to get away from all that dust and dirt. Well, one of the guys unfortunately fell down and tripped and almost got ran over. Someone that was with them said, look guys, you guys have to find a better way to doing this, because sooner or later someone's going to get killed, right? We all know the value and the importance of basically checking your combine loss as well too, because if you don't, you're throwing a lot of money in the basically back in the field, right? So that's basically how it started.
I'm going to tell just a little story about my dad was a 1,000-acre grain farmer in 1960. And he would put me in the combine. I would steer the combine. Yeah. He would get back underneath with his hat and try and make sure he'd stay out of the wheel, right? And the combines weren't that big, so there wasn't that much room. So I understand fully what this system means. But tell me how it works.
Well, the system is very simple and easy. We use basically permanent magnets that are located on top of the actual drop pan system. It's a hooded design, so the actual sample pan is actually nestled underneath of it. So it's attached onto various areas of your combine. It could be your rear axle, it could be your feeder house, it could even be off of your header itself. This allows you to basically check your losses in different areas. And the really nice thing about it is you actually use a similar device to a key fob to basically press the button to deploy the actual drop pan. So that allows the farmers to basically be in a safe, clean environment, and they don't have to basically get run over by the actual combine. So once the actual sample is basically tested and picked up in the sample pan, then you have to clean it out. So instead of sitting there with sieves for 15, 20 minutes, we now have what we call an air separator. Air separator, you dump everything in from that sample pan into it, you turn on the fan, it blows out all the MOG materials other than grain, but keeps the heavier grain and that stuff on the inside. We now have clean grain within 15, 20 seconds. We go ahead, we scale it, figure out what the weight is down to 1/10 of a gram, and because we know the weight of what came out of the grain for the sample pan, we know the weight of a bushel, and we know the size of the pan and know the size of an acre, we can now basically figure out what your losses are for that particular combine settings. So if you're happy with the settings, you can go ahead and put it all within your phone app and then basically save those settings so that next time you come across that next year, you have those exact settings that you can kind of set it up with. Now, you can save it for different conditions because we have the normal days, we have the tough days, we've got the easy days, we got all sorts of different conditions. So the system allows you to save a number of different basically samples for a variety of different crops. There's no charts, it's all basically inputted into your phone, so it makes it very quick and easy. So if your product is quick, easy, and fast, people are going to use it and love it. And we've got a number of guys that have basically saved, well over $55,000 to $20,000, or sorry, $55,000 to $70,000 in canola from basically going back into the field.
I know, we focus on the safety aspect of it because that's human nature and that's life, right? But I remember my father, when he would get that back on his knees, he would put out that square and see how many kernels had actually gone over, because he liked to, if he was going to grow the crop, he wanted to get as much of that crop as he possibly could, and he was good at it. So this just absolutely safety. But as you mentioned, tell me a little bit more about how the farmers, I know I've interviewed farmers and how much they actually save, because then all of a sudden it doesn't cost anything getting this to your combine.
Right, so the profitability is the big thing for the farmers. They all have exactly the same input costs and everything else that you're basically doing in order to get that crop. Everybody goes, they always calibrate their air seeder, but when it comes basically to harvest time, it's just been basically recently that we've come out with a quick, easy design that makes it easy for them to calibrate their combines, getting to be more and more important. So obviously with different varieties, different crops, you have different settings you have to basically do with it. We've got guys that have said, embarrassingly say we've been throwing over 10 bushels an acre, and they're able to get it down to basically a bushel or less. And really the target number is a bushel or less. There's a number of different things you can do as a farmer in order to decrease your losses as well too. That could be changing your concaves internally. It could be basically changing your wind speed. Obviously changing your ground speed as well too is very important as well. So there's a number of things that they can do in order to save those bushels, right?
I remember also there was our neighbor had the same combine that we had, and he always finished a lot sooner on the same field. He was done, and my dad says, you know what? Let's wait till fall and see what his field looks like compared to what our field. And you know what? He always had a thick crop already, green and fall, and Dad only had a little.
So right there and there, he's got to basically put more input costs in order to kill off all that crop and that stuff that he doesn't want to be there because he's rotating it to something different. So that's just not saving bushels, it's also saving dollars of input costs you have to basically utilize as well too. So excellent point.
Any last thing you want to say?
Well, I just want to basically say, you make sure you guys are basically validating your losses and that stuff on your combines. If you're combining basically dropping, then test dropping. If you're combining spreading, test spreading. Don't assume that when you're basically doing it on a drop, that once you flick that switch, you're going to have the same loss results as what you did droppage when you're spreading. That's a big false. I don't think that's true. A lot of the guys that are in the industry and basically do a lot of analysis will basically back us up on that. I just want to wish everybody a great harvest 2019. Let's build the best crop ever, guys.
Thank you very much, Chris Sobchuk with Bushel Plus team. And as I told the fellas working with me when I walked up to here, I really find this as one of the real key tools because it brings it home, as I've already mentioned, as to how my father would get behind that and underneath that combine. So this removes that. So once again, save money, calibrate the combine, but first and foremost, it's also very safety conscious. So thanks again, Chris.
Thanks, Harry.
This is Harry Siemens from Manitoba Ag Days 2019.